Did you whip? You whipped. I saw it. You did it.
No, I
didn't. you whipped at us, Chris. look at me. Look me in the eyes.
I don't want to look you in the eyes.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. We are the cEDH Brewing Company. I'm your boy TK. That's your boy Chris. That's July. Say hello, people.
Hello, people.
Hi, people.
Woo! We are back with a very special episode, I would say, as this is our Bloomburrow release episode. Yay! We're going to be talking about all things Bloomburrow, and we're doing a very special brew sort of thing this episode, where all of us are going to brew our so-called favorite commanders from Bloomburrow, instead of just having the one, because otherwise that'd be pretty boring. This seems like a really fun set. It's got animals. That's cute. Yeah. What's everybody's
the end of the thought? They're cute.
Animals.
Animals. Little fluffy guys. Little fluffy petty guys. I want to touch them.
Yeah. Petting zoo. Let's go.
Getting over here. I'm going to give you a little pet.
What's everybody's thoughts on the set so far? Because as we are recording this, we are knee deep in like spoiler season. So what's everybody's thoughts? Give me your thoughts and then your favorite card that you've seen so far.
I'm very excited about this set. It's one that I'm gonna be 100% honest. I have not been this excited for a set in a long time. All these little animal creatures that are coming in this like woodland forest area. It's very, very cutesy and very fun, and something that I don't think we get a lot of. And it's being able to showcase for a lot of different artists as well. A lot of the arts that are on these cards are incredible. We were talking about it before recording. I think my favorite one is probably the Teferi art, like the reprint Teferi. It we were talking about it before. It's just so nice. Honestly, just all those reprints are very cool.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with Chris here that I think this is the most excited I've been for a set. I'd say this year at least. It is. I think the best word that Chris used, and I want to echo again, is fun. The set looks fun.
Yeah.
For my favorite card, oh god.
You can do a couple if you got a couple.
I think I want to definitely say the Stormbreaker card, the otter that when you, I think it's when you cast an instant or sorcery, you make a copy of it.
Yep.
It's just insane. I'm waiting for someone to break it wide open. I also, in terms of the reprints, TK and I were both joking about Grandmother Willow, Great Deku Tree, Karn. That is, which thank you TK for pointing out that Link is on that. Link is on that card.
Yeah.
I did not see him initially.
As a huge Legend of Zelda fan, I saw it and I immediately was like, I don't know if anybody's seen Steven Universe where he's like, giant woman. I was like, Deku Tree. Brought me back. So yeah, love that card for sure. I would say for me, I have a funny story about Bloomburrow so far. This past weekend, Chris and I, along with a couple of our buddies, went to a tournament out in Tennessee that we were all practicing really hard for. And I did some coaching sessions with a good buddy of mine, Evan, aka Freedom Waffle, on Blue Farm. And we were looking at the list and talking about changes that we wanted to make for this weekend. And one of those changes was, oh man, Cyclonic Rift. Like, if only Cyclonic Rift could be 1 mana instant speed, it'd be so much better, because all the interaction in the deck was like 1 mana, and that was like the whole thing. We were like, oh, that's going to be so cool. And we were like, oh, but that card doesn't exist. There's like Void Snare, which you could do, I guess. Alchemist Retrieval, but that's like, you really, in order to do the thing that you want, it's 2 mana.
Mhm.
And so it's like, okay, that doesn't really hit. And so we're like, well, that card doesn't exist, so we'll do Lightning Bolt instead. We said that Friday. Saturday, we look at the spoilers, and Into the Flood Maw is an instant speed 1 mana Cyclonic Rift effect. And all you have to do is give somebody like a 1/1 fish. And we were on the road, and I immediately texted Evan. I'm like, do you see this? Like, it's literally the card like, that you were just talking about yesterday. He was just like, yeah, I know, they were listening. And so for that moment alone, it's my favorite card already of the set.
Yeah, I don't want to get too deep off of the trail of our brews, but I do want to quickly say I think there's been a lot of conversation about those gifted cards.
Yeah.
For cEDH, and I'm curious to see what becomes of those. I know like there's the reanimate 2 creatures, but if you gifted a card, you get to reanimate 3 creatures, which I'm personally excited for.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the fact that you don't even have to gift it to, like, you get to pick who you're gifting it to, right? And that's really fun because whoever is just the most behind, you're like, hey, bud, I see you. Take this.
Here's a fish.
Yeah. And they're like, oh my God, thanks. This is what I've wanted. Oh. Yeah, so it seems like it's going to be a really cute set. I wish there was a little bit more Redwall in it, but it's fine. I will just headcanon it and it'll be cool. But
Secret layers haven't been announced yet, TK. He's still got time.
Hey, fingers crossed. If there is a Redwall secret layer, I'm going to tell Jordan we need to make a whole nother special video just so I can freak out about it for 30 minutes. But
just a Redwall secret layer idiots brew.
Yeah, like these cards suck, but they're so good to me. But awesome, yeah. So, like I said, today is a very special episode. We each picked a different commander from Bloomburrow because we are really excited about the set, and we're just gonna see which one we were really messing with and vibing with, and what we thought you could do out of this cute, adorable little furry set. July, do you want to take it away?
For sure.
Awesome.
So, there were a lot of fun and interesting commanders that have been spoiled from this set already, and I almost went with one, and then Yeager got spoiled. And I know there's been a lot of conversation going around Yeager, and I saw it, and I was like, there's some cooking to be done, which is appropriate because it's all about food. So, Yeager, Eater of All, is a 6/6 legendary elemental cat, costs 3 generic, a black and a green, and it has a wall of text that I'm in love with. Ward, sacrifice of food. Other creatures are food artifacts in addition to their other types and have pay 2, tap, sacrifice is permanent. You gain 3 life, the effects of a normal food. And whenever a food is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you put 2 1/1 counters on Yeager. So, I have a couple different win lines here. I wanted to talk about primarily 3 of them. Obviously, we're doing Protean Hulk as one of our options here. So Protean Hulk, when it dies, you get to search for any number of creatures, total CMC 6 or less, put them straight on the battlefield. The best Protean Hulk line in this deck is probably Gravecrawler, Warren Soul Trader, and Zulaport Cutthroat. You can get all 3 of these creatures immediately from the Protean Hulk sack. You don't have to get additional creatures. You don't have to sack the Protean Hulk additional times. It's a total of 6 CMC, and you can get all 3 of them for free. You can make, and the loop is very simple. You don't have to worry about mana generation. You don't have to worry about loss of life from the Warren Soul Trader. Everything is covered. So we're just going to drain our opponents by sacrificing Protean Hulk and putting those 3 into play, looping the Gravecrawler over and over again, and killing everyone with Zulaport Cutthroat. The other Protean Hulk line in this deck does require a little bit of extra assembly, but it also works in tandem with our commander. And that is, with Protean Hulk, you can fetch up Chatterfang, Squirrel General, who makes, every time you make a token of any kind, you get that many tokens plus that many squirrels, as well as another new commander from Bloomburrow, who is Camellia the Seed Miser. She is a 1 and a green and a black. She's a 3/3 legendary squirrel warlock, and she has menace. Other squirrels who have menace, whenever you sacrifice 1 or more foods, create a 1/1 green squirrel creature token. If you have Camellia, Chatterfang, Yeager, and any sacrifice outlet of any kind, you have an infinite loop where you can keep feeding the squirrels, which are also foods in addition to their other types, to the sacrifice engine. Camellia is going to trigger, make a 1/1 green squirrel. Chatterfang's going to trigger, make another green squirrel. Both of them are foods. Rinse and repeat are two options that are best for this line in terms of looping sacrificing those creatures are either going to be Phyrexian Altar, in which case we can generate infinite mana, or for a more clean win, Altar of Dementia, where you just keep sacrificing those squirrels and you're going to mill out everyone. Where I had the most fun was putting in the rest of the deck, which is like all of our notable includes. So, some fun things that you can do with foods, and the fact that all of everyone's creatures are foods, is you can get away with a few things. One, Karn, the Great Creator, turns off all your opponent's creatures' activated abilities because Yigra makes them all artifacts. Another thing you can do is just take those things, which is why we're playing both Tergrid, God of Fright, which says whenever an opponent sacrifices a non-token permanent or discards a permanent card, you may put that card from the graveyard right onto the battlefield under your control. Oh, you wanted to target Yigra and sacrifice a creature to do it? Cool, that Tergrid is mine, or that card is mine from Tergrid. Similar principle is Vraska the Silencer, a new legendary from Outlaws of Thunder Junction. Whenever a non-token creature an opponent controls dies, you can pay 1. If you do, you put the creature back into play under your control, except it's a treasure instead of being a creature. And then some more food-specific things that I think are just good value engines. We're playing Knight of Sweet's Revenge, which is an uncommon from Wilds of Eldraine. I almost said Throne of Eldraine. Knight of Sweet's Revenge is a 4-drop enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, you make a food, and it gives all of your foods tap to add green. And because all of our creatures are food, that means that we've just turned, for 4 mana, all of our creatures except Yigra into mana dorks, which can be very important, especially since if we have to, like, for example, hardcast the Brodian Hulk, or if we're playing Invasion and Finale and all those cards that can put the Brodian Hulk into play, being able to use our creatures as mana dorks effectively is another way to benefit off of them being foods. The last card I want to talk, the second last card I want to talk about here for notable includes is Savvy Hunter. Savvy Hunter, when it attacks or blocks, you make a food, but it also says sacrifice 2 foods, draw a card. So it not only is it a sacrifice outlet to start the Protean Hulk line if we need to, but it's just generally good value to make, because we are making food tokens, like honest to god food tokens, but we're also, again, all of our creatures are food. So being able to sacrifice 2 of our lesser important creatures to draw a card or do anything of that sort, Savvy Hunter just seems like a good card to go in here. And because we are on enough forests to do so, I did decide to just throw in Gingerbread Cabin. Enters battlefield tapped unless you control 3 or more other forests, and when it enters untapped, you make a food token. Relatively simple, but it is fetchable, and again, because we're on enough forests to make it work, we can just kind of get away with that. The rest of the deck is pretty standard for a Golgari reanimation / Protean Hulk list. We're doing all of our reanimates. Some notable includes for that are Victimize. Being able to sacrifice 2 of our creatures to put back one of the bigger ones into play is pretty good. In terms of mana dorks, the only interesting one that I wanted to mention was Gilded Goose, because it makes a food and then you can tap it for mana by also sacrificing a food, which can, in theory, can be any of your other creatures you want dead, such as the Protean Hulk, or worst case scenario, it can sacrifice itself. Disciple of the Vault also fills in for outlet if we need another way to drain our opponents, because again, with that Camellia, Chatterfang, Yeager loop, they're all artifacts that are going in graveyard, so Disciple of the Vault sees all of those artifacts going in and out of the graveyard, thus draining our opponents out. And I believe that's all I wanted to talk about. Like I said, the rest of the deck is pretty standard for what I would say a Golgari list is running these days. And yeah, go ahead and pass the question off to you. What do you guys think of Yigra, Eater of All?
It looks really cool. I can't lie. I didn't look heavily into this commander after we decided what we were going to do. And you were like, I'm going to do Yigra. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to be happy and surprised. We talked a little bit about it, how it would probably be a Protean Hulk deck. And on the surface, that idea that Protean Hulk with your commander out is its own sacrifice outlet is really cool. I love the fact that you don't need any of these additional ones. You can just say, oh, I got 2 mana, tap, sacrifice him. Off he goes into the world. Let me go get my grave caller. Let me go get my soul trader. Let me just kill people outright. I do like the secondary win line you have as well, because you do have multiple different ways to take out your opponents, whether it's Altar of Dementia or Disciple of Bolus, or Disciple of the Vault. So that is really cool to me. I like those lines a lot. And when you said Gilded Goose, I was like, dang, that's a good one. That's really good. Gilded Goose saw a lot of play in Modern because you could run 4 of, and you could make some more foods along the way, but it's not one you really see in Commander, especially in like cEDH. But Yeager turning everything into one, it makes it a lot easier for this to be a recurrable source of mana for you. So I think that's really cool.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with everything that Chris said. The Karn is super cute. Oh, I love that so much. Specifically because I think one thing with like Golgari that's been really rough lately has been the inclusion of Bowmasters. And so having the Orc army be super big and you just being like, okay, cool, I'm going to target it and it's gone is really sick.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. You're right. We can't just uptick Karn to kill tokens. That's pretty, specifically creature tokens.
This is really nice.
That's good.
And just also stopping the activated abilities. I think Chris and I were talking about it before of like, oh yeah, Sisse is a really big deck right now. So putting them off of their Savala line or their Emil lines too is just really bad. Like they're like, no, they have to go the Dockside route. What do I do? And it's like, okay, and you can really work with that, which is really nice. So I love it. I think this is an amazing list, as always, July.
Thank you. And even if they go to the Dockside lines, it's still Karn. They can't do Dockside lines.
Yeah, that's rough. Yeah. You gotta hit this. Hit this Deku tree.
You gotta punch that Deku tree right in the mouth.
And there's a 6/6 on board that's probably stopping you from doing so.
Or even more so, because I think that's one thing I think we're overlooking. Yeager's gonna get big quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every food getting sacrificed puts 2 1/1 counters on it. Mm-hmm. I almost thought about leaning into that a little bit by putting like some trample enablers in there, but I was like, honestly, just a great blocker. Just gonna, and if we want to pressure life totals, we'll go to violence. But more or less, like that is a great way to just shut down like Tymna decks and other stuff like that.
Yep.
Nice, love it. Cool.
Well, TK, do you want to go next?
No, I'm kidding.
Too bad.
Oh no.
At home, I was initially going to do the Grixis. I think it's Wick, right? The rat with snail, something like that. And I got like halfway through brewing it, and I was like, no, I'm not doing this. And so I switched to Zinnia because there was a nice little interaction that we talked through, and I got confirmed. And the idea from Higher, from Playing with Power, that I really like, and we'll talk about when it comes to, I guess, not win cons, but win lines. And I realized, wow, this is really sick. The whole Offspring mechanic in terms of Bloomburrow is really nice. If you don't know what it does, cards that have Offspring allow you to pay an additional cost that is right after the keyword. And by doing that, you will be able to make tokens of those creatures as they enter the battlefield, which is really nice for ETBs or like long-standing triggered abilities, because then you can just double up on them. And my commander is Zinnia Valley's Voice, which is just Guy Commander, legendary creature, Bird Bard, which I think is super sick in terms of a type line. It is a 1/3.
Saying that 5 times fast.
Nope. Flying, Zinnia's Valley's voice gets plus X plus 0, where X is the number of other creatures you control with base power 1. That comes up actually a lot more than I thought in this list, which is really nice. But the main thing is it gives all creature spells you cast Offspring 2, which means you pay 2 mana additional in terms of their cost. And when you do, you get to create a token copy of that creature when it enters. And so how are we winning the game in Jeskai? And there's really usually only one answer, and that is Underworld Breach combos. And that was kind of a struggle to kind of work through when it comes to this brew, just because Jeskai tends to be very restrictive with how it wins. It has a lot of really cool effects and ways to grind out value, but when it comes to actually closing out the game, it tends to be a lot more difficult. But Zinnia, of course, is a creature deck, right? It wants you to lean into creatures. And so it was kind of like, how do I do that? And so I decided to just do what any normal deck would do when you can make copies of creatures and just do Dockside. Dockside sounds really great. It works. Man, who would have thought that card would be broken? Oh, man. So, yeah. But, yeah, we are running the Underworld Breach combo. With Intuition. Intuition is a 1-card combo. If nobody knows what that combo is, you cast Intuition, you pick a pile of Underworld Breach, Savine's Wreck, and Lion's Eye Diamond, and no matter what they give you, you will be able to, on your next turn, flashback Savine's Wreck or cast the Underworld Breach, and then start the loop just by casting Intuition again to get the Brain Freeze, and then you just start the loop there, milling everybody out. If that doesn't work, we have a couple of other ways that we can win, utilizing Zinnia's ability. One card that was mentioned already earlier here that I was super excited to talk about, and I was really worried because it was not on Moxfield yesterday, but it is today, and that is Storm Splitter. Is a 3-red otter that has haste. It's a 1/4. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a token that's a copy of Storm Splitter, and then you exile it at the beginning of the next end step. This is really cool because you can give it Offspring, so it starts off with 2. And as long as you have any sorcery or instant, you're just going to double the amount that's on the board, which is so funny to me. It's like, okay, cool. Now there's 4 otters. Oh, there's 8. Oh, there's 16. Oh, you're dead. And the best part about it is that they have base power 1, which means each copy that's on the board is also going to boost up Zinnia's power. And you have it in flying, so you just swing. Like, it doesn't even have to be infinite with Storm Splitter. You just have to get enough to do lethal, which is super cool. I like that a lot. Yeah. We like that a lot. Dockside is a really good enabler for this, mainly because with Dockside, we are able to do Offspring 2 and obviously get both of those triggers. But with the card that I was talking about earlier from Higher, Silver Quill Lecturer, which comes from Modern Horizons 3 in terms of the commander set, it gets really dumb really fast. So Silver Quill Lecturer has 5 CMC. Creature spells you cast have Demonstrate. Demonstrate is another keyword that says whenever you cast a creature spell, you can copy it. And then if you do, you choose one opponent, and they also get to copy it. And then the copy becomes a token. The reason why this is really cool is because, and the way that Higher was explaining it, they're both on cast triggers, so you get to decide how they resolve. So let's say you have Silver Quill Lecturer, and you cast a Dockside. You can choose to have the Offspring triggers work on tandem with the Silver Quill Lecturer, so that the Offspring copy also has the Demonstrate. And as long as you have, yeah. As long as you have Grand Abolisher on board, so they cannot sack the treasures, your opponents will get their Docksides, and then you will get yours.
Oh my god!
And you will get 3 copies on top of theirs. So yeah, you make so many. It's not infinite mana. But God, will it feel like
Might
it?
As well be. Might
Yeah.
as well
It's
be.
an ungodly amount.
Yeah, and it's so sick. And from there, you can kind of storm off to your other wins because we're also running Displacer Kitten, which is really cool with Yeah, just make 2 Displacer
Why
Kittens
not?
and start storming off. Because we're also running 3 Fairy as another silence effect. So Displacer Kitten, 3 Fairy, make the mana with any mana positive rock, draw your deck, find any one of these combos and do the thing. But one card that I really like is we're really working with ETBs here, as you can tell. Aether Channeler is a nice card. It is a 2 and a blue creature, human wizard. Whenever it enters the battlefield, you get to choose one. You either get to make a 1/1 white bird with flying, return another target non-land permanent to its owner's hand, or draw a card. As long as Dockside makes more than 5, I think is the required amount, you can make infinite mana using Dockside and Aether Channeler. As Aether Channeler is going to come in, make an offspring, and then you are going to use the copies to bounce Dockside and then bounce the original Aether Channeler, because you can have them do the thing. Bounce them back, recast Dockside, recast Aether Channeler, repeat. And as long as you're doing it in that order, you can then make infinite mana and then also use the Aether Channeler to just draw your deck. Or if you've cracked Emergent Zone, which is also here, and you're doing this on your opponent's turn, you can just make infinite birds and then go to your turn and swing out. This deck gets really stupid. What else do we have here? We also have Saheeli and Felidar Guardian. Felidar Guardian with the offspring is really funny because you just blink a bunch of stuff. But with Saheeli, you can also activate its downtick ability to create a copy of Felidar Guardian, which is then going to come in and blink Saheeli, allowing you to activate it again, make another copy of Felidar Guardian, and just do it again. Which is really, really nice. Hullbreaker Horror Loops are also here as well, just making infinite cast, infinite mana, and doing that. We are also running Blind Obedience and Impact Tremors as other ways to close out the game. So if you're making infinite mana with Hullbreaker Horror or the Dockside Loops or whatever, you can just extort the table to death. Or if you're doing Impact Tremors, as long as you're having infinite creature cast, or you're doing the Storm Splitter stuff and you really need to get life totals low, you just keep doing it until people are dead, and it's really fun. Spellseeker is here too to help with the storm stuff, because you can do Spellseeker with double of those and then double Displacer Kittens and double Dockside, where you're just like, okay, cool, I have 2 Displacer Kitten triggers. I'm going to blink the original Dockside, blink the original Spellseeker, get another non-creature spell to cast in my hand, have the mana already ready to cast it, do it again, keep going. And eventually you should be able to find a win there. Volatile Stormdrake is here as well, which is really fun because you just get to make a bunch of those and take everything. Give me that. I want that one. Yeah, that looks cool. Thassa's Oracle is also here because one thing that I think is really rough is if your opponents have some sort of shuffler and you're going for the Underworld Breach loop, that ends your game plan right there. So you need to be able to have something that can close out the game. And with the Offspring, you can just make a bunch of copies of it, which works really fun too. Dualcaster Mage, Molten Duplication, as well as Twin Flame is there. So we have a lot of ways to close out the game, which I really wanted to because I know that traditionally Jeskai does not have. So we fixed that problem very, very well. Outside of that, some neat tricks that we have in the deck include Panharmonicon. We are really abusing ETBs, and being able to trigger those in additional time is really cool. We are also running Pull from Eternity. If somebody is like, man, we're going to Mind Break Trap that Brain Freeze or that LED, we're like, man, I guess I can't win the game. Psych, sucker, stupid. Never going to give you the chance. Yeah, get it back. And now I'm doing it again. And yeah, the rest is usually, we're also doing Angel's Grace, just because I feel like the ability to say, no, the game does not end right now. It's pretty cool. Yeah, other than that, it's mainly just regular Jeskai good stuff. We're running things like Trouble in Pairs, Smothering Tide, just to get some value out of things. Risky Study, Mystic Remora, the One Ring. Muddle the Mixture is here as a tutor for Dockside, as well as Charismatic Conqueror, which I think is really fun. Being able to have 2 of those on board Sometimes you just are able to go to beats because they each come in with 1/1 lifelink, and Zinnia also gets really big. So you just swing out and okay, cool. Am I winning through combo? No, but I will win through combat, and that's what I like. Yeah, that is the bulk of this deck, honestly.
Man, what a silly
Jesus
deck.
Christ.
I like this a lot. I can't lie. Like, I knew that I knew it was going to be silly. The offspring mechanic, as you were stating earlier, is kind of just dumb. Like, the ability to pay 2 extra mana, I get another copy. Yeah, that's all right. That's okay. Who thought that's not broken at all? 4 mana for 2 Dockside? That's fine. Oh man, I really like this. This kind of like Manual Storm-esque deck that you've got going on here with the Storm Splitters. That makes me smile a lot because you have enough cantrips and other instants and sorceries that if you've done the Offspring trigger with this, there are going to be multiple turns where you could just swing for 10 and not even worry about any blocks or whatnot have you coming from your opponents, because you're just going to say, yeah, here's 16 otters, take that, hold that for me.
Take that.
Absolutely silly. One thing I saw as well that I don't know if it works the way my brain is saying that it works, but Panharmonicon plus Volatile Stormdrake seems very, very funny because it's going to
Oh,
ETB.
now you're getting my gears.
You exchange control with 2 different target creatures, and if you get 8 energy, pay neither of it. You sacrifice both of those creatures. It's like, you guys fight over who gets this Drake. I don't really care. I'm just going to take these for a second and throw them right into the garbage. The same thing happens with Perplexing Chimera. If multiple triggers of the Chimera go on the stack and one resolves, you still get to choose to exchange control. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
like as long as the triggers originally saw you as the owner, you still get to choose how the exchange occurs. So it's probably not a you get it, but you're definitely going to be switching around some creatures for sure. It's like you hold on to that guy's Grand Abolisher, but you don't have any energy, so you can't even pay it. So you're gonna have to sacrifice it. And
I was gonna say, because it's not like Gilded Drake where you're risking giving someone an important piece because they're not gonna have the. Oh my!
Because you're getting the energy. As long as they don't have just like excess energy somewhere, I think you just get to play this hilarious charade cups game where you just move creatures around and watch people have to sacrifice them right to the bin.
It's funny too because you just pay the extra 2 mana and you get to do this twice, which is really funny.
Yeah, you don't even need Panharmonicon. Oh my god, Panharmonicon plus the Offspring.
Mm-hmm. It's gonna be busted.
Yeah.
Like,
we're just gonna rotate commanders because everyone's gonna.
Yeah. You guys ever played musical chairs?
I feel like people are gonna read the commander and then look at Panharmonicon and say, "No, you don't get that."
Stop.
It's gonna eat a counterspell for sure, and if it doesn't eat a counterspell, man, you're gonna have a wild time.
It's gonna be fun.
When you mentioned Silver Quill Lecturer, I was like, okay, that's fun, that's cute. Just give the Lecturer Offspring, and now you're demonstrating twice.
Ooh. Thank you, Doctor.
You're welcome.
Woo!
You're welcome.
We did it, Joe. We broke Roxanne.
This is an amazing list, TK. This might be one of the funnest ways to build a CEDH deck, and I'm so happy that you did this.
Thank you so much. Okay, well, I feel all warm and fuzzy in my tum tum now. Chris, show us that good.
Was one.
Well, we saw some things. We saw one deck that's actually probably pretty good. We saw one deck that looks absolutely hilarious to pilot, and if that thing goes off. Now let's look at some hot garbage. I decided to build the infamous Cruel Claw. The infamous Cruel Claw is 1 generic and Rakdos. It is a 3/3 legendary creature Weasel Mercenary. This Weasel Mercenary has Menace, and whenever the infamous Cruel Claw deals combat damage to a player, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card. You may cast that card by discarding a card rather than paying its mana cost. I have colloquially called this Rakdos Kinnan. This deck is looking to cheat out some of the dumbest things Rakdos has to offer and make the game miserable for everybody to play. Actual win cons for this deck, right? Like how this deck would probably win if it ever sees the light of day is going to be Aetherflux Reservoir, Bolus of Citadel, and Sensei's Divining Top. With this combo, you can infinitely cast Sensei's Divining Top off the top of your library by activating it to draw a card, putting it on top of your library, casting it with Bolus of Citadel, and Aetherflux Reservoir is going to see each individual cast, and you will gain incremental life. Then you get to pay 50 life to deal 50 damage to each of your opponent. It also has Dual Caster Mage and Twin Flame as combos. This is an ideal world where we somehow managed to find these cards along the way. In all reality, this is going to be the most chaotic deck I think I've ever built in my lifetime. Some noticeable includes the big issue with Infamous Cruel Claw is it has to deal the combat damage to trigger. So I wanted to make sure that no matter what happens, Cruel Claw is going to be dealing some damage. We do have the stapled on Menace keyword, which is great for the early turns, but as it gets later and later into the game, people are going to have more creatures to be able to block us. So we do have a suite of artifacts that give him unblockable. We have Brotherhood Regalia, which equipped creature has Ward 2 and cannot be blocked. We got Hot Soup. So my weasel's going to be running down in combat with some hot soup. He's got to go through, and then here's an Atali.
This is the this is the most Disney film of the three decks.
Oh man. We do have Silver Shroud Costume, another way to give it Shroud and unblockable, and Thieves Tools, another way to make sure he's getting into combat. So after our little guy here does combat damage, you might be saying, Chris, what are we hoping to hit into? Well, I'm glad you asked, audience. We are hoping to hit into one of these giant spells I have colloquially termed as our Big Dumb Idiots. Our Big Dumb Idiots include Emrakul the Promised End, which is a fun little one. Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger. Ulamog the Defiler. Sire of Insanity. Atali Primal Storm. Rakdos the Showstopper. All these fun little things that do just silly little things whenever you cast and or have them enter the battlefield. One of my favorite things about this commander is you cast the exiled card. So all of these Eldrazi's are getting the cast trigger.
Oh no! Oh my god!
Just imagine a weasel running with a giant pot of hot soup, hits you in the face, and then suddenly I've cast an Ulamog the Defiler. Please exile half your library.
Oh my god! Is this weasel the Herald of Galactus?
The visual of like some confused like frog or something getting hit in the face with hot soup and then wiping his eyes, and a primordial titan is just like looking at him like, hey, what's good, bro?
Oh man.
What was that, chicken noodle? Oh my god!
Oh my god. Oh. Some of the other hopeful hits that we're gonna have off of our commander is going to be basically what I call our second chance. I've added 3 to 4 extra combat spells in this deck as well, in case I turn to swing, don't hit one of my Big Dumb Idiots. Hopefully I can hit one of these extra combat spells to then untap and then go again. hopefully getting one of these game-changing effects until I can hit one of my ways to actually close out the game. So we do have Fury of the Horde, Overpowering Attack, Relentless Assault, and Seize the Day. These are just ways to basically untap all of my creatures, get into combat, go for it. Some of them are only target, so it's only going to be targeting my Weasel, like Seize the Day. Luckily, that one is only 4 mana, so if I do draw it along the way, we should be able to cast that pretty easily to then go back into combat. Other than that, we do have a generic Mana Rock suite. With the incredibly high CMC of this deck, I do want to, hopefully, fingers crossed, be able to cast one of these things if and when they end up in my hand, and I'm just going to look at them and be laughing. So we do have, your generic Mox Opal, Mox Amber, Mana Vault, Soul Rings, all that fun stuff. We do have a Dockside, so hopefully if Dockside count gets high enough, we can drop that and cast one of these giant spells out of our hand. We do have our reanimation spells in Animate Dead and Necromancy. So along the way, especially if we end up hitting something like a Sire of Insanity, I can discard one of these big dumb idiots and then draw into one of these reanimation spells, reanimate it back onto the board, cause a lot of problems for a lot of people. Other than that, it's a pretty generic Rakdos deck that has Eldrazi. Thank you. Thank you for coming to my presentation. Thank you for letting me build this deck. Any questions?
I'll go ahead and start with a very, a genuine, honest to God compliment, which is it's so cool. And I mean, I was looking at it and it's like there's no bad hits, I think, off of the Weasel.
Not
really.
I love this. I love this with all my heart. Also, just a random God Pharaoh statue in here.
Yeah, that's supposed to be a big dumb idiot. Just like, oh, sorry, your spells cost 2 more to cast. Oopsies.
I love it. I love it so much.
I want to play this deck so bad. I don't care what deck we pick for after this. I don't care if it doesn't do well. This looks like so much fun. And the fact that hot soup image is just in my mind, so funny. Dude, this looks like it's really fun. The big Eldrazi sound like they're really fun to hit off of it. Blood for the Blood God is so funny too. Just like, yeah. Just go for it. There doesn't seem to be like one bad hit. And it's a May, so like if you do, then you just leave it. Like, oh, there's Final Fortune on top. I'm not ready to win. Okay, cool. I'll put it away. Which is really nice. Turn. Yeah. another time.
We don't need that right now.
Super sick. I love it so much.
Thank you. Join us here in a little bit after we decide whose deck is the best.
Hey, welcome back. So funny thing, we decided we like all 3 of these decks. So we're actually not going to pick one. We're going to pick all 3, and we're just going to play a whole Bloomburrow pod. And I think that's going to be the most fun option for everybody here, because we looked at all 3. All of them are very fun. And I think we're going to have a lot of fun next week throwing these in the gauntlet. What do you guys say?
I agree. I'm genuinely like so excited. It hurts my heart to try to say, no, you can't do the cool thing you came up with, or no, I'm sorry, mine's cooler, or this is going to be better. I think it's just going to be a lot of fun, and that's really what EDH is about. So like, let's get together and have some fun, guys. What do you say?
Yeah.
I mean, we're all the main characters of Idiot Brewing Company, so we all get to keep our decks.
Sick. Yeah. So, in that case, next.
That's so stupid.
Someone else say the thing. Someone else say the thing.
All right, I got it. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We appreciate you. We look forward to seeing you guys next week on the Idiot Brewing Company Gauntlet, where all three of us are going to be bringing our version of the Bloomburrow deck. If you like what you see, go ahead and leave us a like and subscribe down below. Leave a comment as to what commander you're excited to see in next week's video of the Gauntlet. My name is Chris. That's TK. That's July. And I want to say I love you guys and have a wonderful rest of your night. Say bye, idiots.
Bye,
Bye,
idiots.
idiots.
Bye.